Thank you. All right, I'd like to call the September regular rules committee meeting to order. We are noticed today from 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. Let's go ahead and start with a roll call.
Felix Rivera.
Present.
Austin Quinn Davidson.
Here.
Jamie Allard.
Here.
Christopher Constant.
Here.
Forrest Dunbar.
Here.
Crystal Kennedy.
Here.
Suzanne LaFrance.
Here.
Cameron Perez Verdia. Pete Peterson.
Present.
John Weddleton. John Weddleton. Meg Zalatel.
Here.
You have a quorum.
Thank you. All right, so as usual, if assembly members want to get in the queue, please put yourself in the chat or text me if you can't access the chat. Also, as usual, for rules committee meetings, we can keep these informal, conversational. Okay, so let's go ahead and start going through the agenda. So first we have the report from the assembly chair and the municipal clerk. So few things to report on my end, then open it up to questions, then I'll turn to Barbara and then open it up to questions for her. So I just want to reiterate the same request that I made last month during the August Rules Committee, which was to ask members to weigh the increased stress on our time during budget season as you consider any additional ordinances or resolutions you want to bring forward. Just as an FYI, the budget process should wrap up, cross fingers, at the November 17th meeting. Okay, so other topics. So first, alcohol tax. So later today, we're going to have our 5th work session on this topic to discuss any lingering questions that were brought up during the September 11th work session. And we should have folks there to answer those questions, or at least help us in having a discussion around them. As we discussed on September 11th, we will see what the administration brings forward when they give us their initial budget next week. So the alcohol tax will be a part of that budget, whether as a separate tab or in another format. We've had discussions about making sure that we can clearly see that in the budget. From there, I will consider additional processes as needed, but for now, there are no additional work sessions planned, so I'm gonna have to wait until after I see the budget. Next is on the I Can't Breathe resolution. So I'm continuing to work with the clerk's office on a variety of the planks in this resolution. I think the one that we are closest to achieving is the plank on trainings. There should be several training opportunities organized beginning next month and into next year. And once finalized, I'll make sure to email everyone all of the details. We're just sort of in the process of finalizing all of that. Assembly office remodel. So earlier this week, Assembly leadership met with the administration to review the initial drawings submitted. And folks can make sure you're muted. I'm hearing someone. Thanks. Earlier this week, Assembly leadership met with the administration to review the initial drawings submitted by the architect. And whoops, I actually forgot to get that ready. Barbara, could you do me a favor? If you have it readily available, could you pull it up?
Felix, the architect's drawing?
Yes.
Okay.
And specifically, I'd like you to pull up the one with the 7 offices.
Okay.
So I've asked the administration to work with the architect to see if there are other options to get us to that sort of magical number that we had decided early on in the process of 10 offices. This was well, almost a year ago. You know, that's what we told. Unfortunately, because of space limitations, they couldn't meet all of the requests that we had. So we looked at some alternatives to meet that 10 office minimum, which might sort of reduce some of the additional amenities that we had initially requested. We should have some new drawings early next month, so I will share those with you in October. And no rush on pulling those up, but if you can at least find them, and then I'll come back to this topic after the end of my report. So next is utilizing the assembly chambers. So Barbara is going to go into a little bit more detail on this, but on my end, I wanted to let folks know that I've started working with the clerk's office in response to a request that we received at the September 11th Special Rules Committee to see if we can transition some of our committee meetings and work sessions to the assembly chambers. The clerk's office has set a goal of starting this transition in mid-October. It just really isn't feasible to do it any earlier than that, and Barbara will describe why. And to be clear, it's not going to be all committee meetings and work sessions. Likely, we're going to do Friday work sessions at the chambers and certain committee meetings. That's all going to be determined soon, and it's likely going to be a phased process. But sort of have heard the request to see if we can start having some of those meetings in person, and the ability for the public to attend those meetings in person as well. And I think the chambers is likely the place that's best suited to do that versus the conference rooms in City Hall, which I think are too small sometimes to maintain physical distancing and all the other requirements. Next is the website. So as has been described in prior months, I've been working with the clerk's office to do an overhaul of the assembly website. And actually, before I do the website, sorry, I'm going to actually go back. So here is the drawings that were submitted. Everyone can see them here. Barbara, could you do me a favor and zoom in so that we're seeing just the drawing part, or at least zoom in closer to the drawing part? And then if you can scroll down, awesome. So what this does is basically keeps the same layout as is currently in the office, with the doorway and then the reception area, and then puts the other offices around. As you can count, there are 7 offices in this space. So likely what's going to be happening is reducing one of these meeting rooms. So there are 2 meeting rooms that are in here. There's the 113 meeting room, and then Barbara, if you can scroll down a little bit more. There's the current meeting room that's in the office, which is the 115. So likely we'll just keep the 115, convert 113 into another office, and then we'll look at how we want to reorganize the work area and the coffee space that you see on the left-hand side to accommodate the additional 2 other rooms, offices that we need. So like I said, architect will come back to us because I know there's been interest in looking at the drawings and involved in that process. So we'll make sure to keep everyone in the loop. Okay, that's it, Barbara. You can stop sharing that. Next is website. So as has been described in prior months, I've been working with the clerk's office to do an overhaul of the assembly website. Sorry, Austin, are you trying to chime in?
Yeah, before you moved on from the in-person meetings, I just wanted to make it clear, I didn't hear this, so I'm sorry if I missed it, that the plan is to have a Teams version as well. So people can attend in public or in person, but they also could dial in by Teams.
Thank you, yes. Appreciate that. And I think that's probably one of the things that Barbara will go into more detail on when she gives her report. But yeah, that's a good note.
Got it. Thanks.
So I have been working with the clerk's office on the website to do an overhaul, specifically of just the assembly page. So we have formed an internal team to go work with a contractor on the issue, which includes Meg and John on the assembly end. Our goal was to get something done by the end of the year, and I had given direction to do this work with RDI, which was the preferred contractor after looking at our options. Unfortunately, the contract with RDI recently lapsed, and the administration is going through the process of re-upping that contract, which is likely going to take 4 to 6 weeks. So depending on a variety of factors, including getting OMB approval to let some of our 2020 budget slide into the 2021 budget. As a quick aside, for those who aren't aware, the rule is that you have to spend your budget dollars by year end or it goes into fund balance. So hence trying to get OMB approval. But it looks like this project will be completed in 2021, which we really tried to do our best to get it done this year. In the meantime, you all have probably noticed a variety of recent changes which have been made to our website, which I think makes it easier to access and more user-friendly. We'll continue looking at those sort of simple changes that we can make, but I think a more comprehensive overview and rehaul of the website is really going to take that technical expertise and that contractor to come and do that. Next is the public hearing process. So as was requested at the September 11th Special Rules Committee meeting, I am beginning this process of sort of thinking about how we want to conduct public hearings with the Federation of Community Councils. That's who you all wanted me to start with. So during the September FCC meeting, I introduced the topic, and earlier this week, I sent a formal request to the FCC leadership to have this included on their October agenda, and I should have more to report in the Rules Committee in October. I have a few other items I'll report on during the Assembly priorities and under other items in our agenda, but that is it for now. Anything else members would like me to report on, or any questions before I turn it over to Barbara?
Felix, I think you have people in queue.
Oh, great. Yeah, so first I have you, Jamie.
Thank you. So I have one question, two questions. I think you can, these are pretty easy. For the Eagle River, we don't actually have an office. So when I'm trying to meet with constituents, normally I'd like to go to Jitters, but it's loud and sometimes people want privacy. And of course, with COVID, that's not happening. Is there a possibility that the assembly persons out at Eagle River can get a space? I know we have some community rooms out here. I just don't know if that's something we can work in. That would be one question.
Yeah, that's interesting that you bring that up. So like I said, we've been having this conversation for a year. And so initially, so when it was Fred and Crystal, and Crystal, you can weigh in on this after I'm done explaining, but we had this conversation with the two of them, and whether they wanted to be incorporated in Anchorage or if they wanted separate offices out in Eagle River. And I think it would be specifically I forget the name of the building, but the same space where you have the library and your other offices, sort of uni offices in that same space.
Yeah.
Setting up an office there for you all. Fred and Crystal said no, but now it's you and Crystal. So happy to rehash that discussion and make different choices if that's what is wanted.
Yeah, I think so. I talked to Crystal about it, and I think we're on board together with it. Maybe we can address it a little further when you have time. Obviously, the sooner the better. And then my second question is, can I request now, or do you want me to send it to you an email that could we look at opening up the Willa Marston Theater with the proper use of the mandates, that the people abide by the mandates at the theater on our Tuesday assembly meeting?
Sure. So consider it a request. You don't have to email me. So the request has been made. I will talk to the administration about that.
Thank you.
Thanks. Chris.
Thank you, Felix. So I'm curious on the number of offices. Again, I thought we were aiming for split offices with the districts in the end, but so if that's the case, we would only need 6 or 5, but 10 is great. I think it would be great that we each have our own office. And then the second one was, I'm curious about this request to OMB for extending the funds, because I thought that we had the authority to do that.
Just your first one, and then I don't know if either Barbara, Desiree, or someone from the admin can address your second one. So on your first one, so my recollection of the conversation, I think there were different opinions, but I think the majority opinion at the time was to have separate offices for a few different reasons. One is for future pairs, you don't really know if they're going to get along or not. Two is scheduling might be a little bit difficult if you're trying to share offices, or even if you have like a space where you both can be in there, so you have 2 desks in there. It still might be difficult to be able to share that kind of space between the two of you if you have constituents coming in. And and then the last one was Open Meetings Act, and that was the most important one for me, was having 2 people in a room doing work. You might be doing different things, and then there's the open meetings considerations to take into account. So I think after having all of those discussions, the majority opinion was to try to keep individual offices.
And I'm
But again,
happy-
that's something that's
that's a great idea. I didn't remember that. Thank you.
yeah, thanks. And then the second question, Barbara, I don't know if Desiree's on this, but either you or someone from the admin, if you could address that, the OMB question.
Mr. Chair, is that for rolling the funds?
Yeah, rolling the funds. Yeah.
Okay. I don't really think I can give a precise answer. Could we respond to that in writing?
Actually, so
Thank
I see
you.
Desiree's here, so maybe
Yeah,
Desiree can try and respond.
I'm here if I can answer. I can give you a brief answer.
Go ahead.
So, as far as moving 2020 budget into 2021, it is an AR process that you guys do approve at a meeting. We just have to make sure that there are funds available as far as fund balance and all of that at the end of the year. So we work with OMB. It goes through the fund certification process. So it hits Lance and it hits Alex, and it goes through the whole approval channel and then gets brought to you guys.
So, if a quick follow up, then that is interesting that if we budgeted the item this year, that we would have to determine if fund balance is available. But I guess that's what the issue is in regards to the flipping of the calendar year.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thanks. All right, I don't see any other questions for my report. And thanks. So I just want to put in the record. So Chris Schutte stated that Wilda Marston is going to be open up this upcoming Tuesday for overflow. So thank you, Chris. That was quick. One less thing off my list. Okay, so then we're going. Thanks. So we'll go ahead and move on to the municipal clerk's report. So Barbara.
Okay, thanks, Felix. So, I always report to you with 3 things. And so this time Felix gave me 9. So I have to figure out how can I talk to you about 9 things in a group of 3. So I figured out how to do that. I'm going to talk to you about the chambers, about training, and workload. So the chambers. And I don't have 3 things to talk to you about the chambers. I've got 4. So the first thing on the chambers is the sound. I think for those of you that were at the last meeting or participated on the phone, it was better, and we're going to get even better. We have 3 final adjustments. Of course, I have to do 3. There's going to be an adjustment with GCI. So if you've listened to a recording of the meeting, you can tell that people on the phone are very loud on the GCI recording. And they're doing a little bit of an adjustment with the equipment in the sound booth to fix that. The second thing that we have left to do is we're getting 3 new mics. And I think Mr. Dunbar will care about this the most because he will not have to share with me anymore. And the third thing that we're working on is we're getting a new bridge number. If you've listened on the phone or sometimes to the recording, if, for example, Miss Kennedy is speaking, we have about 15 to 20 other people on the phone. And so the bridge line is unmuted. And while Miss Kennedy is speaking, somebody might be microwaving something or driving in their car, and we can't mute all of those people. So we're going to have a new bridge number that will just be for the assembly members on the phone. There's obviously going to be less than 11 of you. And then the old bridge number will be available for the administration. So those 3 things are in process. Some of them are being implemented today. The rest will be implemented on Monday. And I'm hoping that we will have success on Tuesday, and I'll be able to take the sound project off of our list. The second thing I want to talk to you about the chambers is mobile video. So I believe Mr. Weddleton asked about this. We have an estimate for mobile video. It is about $30,000. The second thing that we need to do on mobile video is we need to set up an interdepartmental meeting if at least the Assembly, the Video Center, and OIT want to go forward on this project. And the third thing that we need to do is designate an internal project manager. So I will just wait to hear from either if a member wants to tell the chair and the chair wants to tell me to go ahead and set up that interdepartmental meeting for further discussion on the mobile video project. The third thing was a larger space. Again, I believe Mr. Weddleton asked about this, and I have three things. Number one, the code says if we need a larger space, we use the Wilda Marston. And so as Ms. Allard has asked, it is going to be open for Tuesday night. The second thing I would like to say is if the Assembly needs larger or alternative space, like when we had the earthquake, we did it. We got you set up in alternative space. We met at the Emergency Operations Center. Or for the alcohol town halls, we did it. In January, we had meetings at the Wilda Marston, at, I believe it was at one of the high schools in Eagle River, and we may have had one other one, and I've forgotten what that location is. So I want to let you know if and when the Assembly needs alternate space, we can do it. But we don't have a plan implemented ahead of time to say, when we need alternative space, this is what we do. If that's what you want us to do, it's a continuity of operations plan. We can add it to the list of things to do. I just want to let you know that we have done it before and we can do it if it happens. You do have a problem with the video. That will not happen unless you go forward with that project. The requirement for the Open Meetings Act is that your meetings are recorded. And of course, for the earthquake emergency meeting and the town halls, we did that. Then the last thing I would say about a larger space, logistics are complicated with security, video. The OIT supports us with desktop and with the on-base system. And then, you know, of course, the clerk staff, you know, we're taking minutes and we're passing out papers and need a copier. So all of those logistical things are complicated. So my answer to a larger space is, number one, the code requires the Wilda Marston. And if you need it for another reason, remember the logistics are complicated, but we'll do it. And you can get back to me if you have any questions about that. So now I'm going to violate my rule of threes and go to number 4 on the chambers. As Felix talked about, Ms. Kennedy asked about having committee meetings at the chambers. We're working on this. As Austin said, we're looking at a hybrid, which is very complicated. So I'm going to suggest that we would like to start with one committee meeting because we really want to see how it works. I hope you know that when I do something for you, I want to make sure that it's done well. And if it works, we'll implement it for other committee meetings as the chairs would like and for the work sessions. So again, some of you might be hearing from me because I'm going to ask you if your committee would like to be the guinea pig. Again, our goal is to do that. We'll have a report for everyone by the middle of September. So even though I've said three things with 4 on the chambers. Number 2 is training. I wanted to let you know that I sent you the email about everything you wanted to know about the website. There's tons of information on the website. I hope the email with the photos wasn't overwhelming, but the info is there. I have offered to do training for the assembly aides to go through the website. If your aide would like to attend, we're doing that, I believe, on Monday, October 5th.